Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. It has been a while. Hopefully everyone is doing well. So this video is I'm going to make an effort to make it succinct, short, not ramble too much. I've been improving at a predictable rate. I am not recovered yet, but I've identified the variables in my life that I have to be consistent with in order to improve at a predictable rate, which is obviously great news. I've been improving for a few weeks now after a major setback, but it was a kind of predictable one. I wasn't surprised when I had a setback in my feelings of DPDR and depression and just energy in general. So what I'm going to do in this video is just kind of lay out what my major problem is that I had a major, you can call it like a, I don't know, maybe like a, I don't know, the way, there was one key way that I was thinking about my whole life that was responsible for DPDR and, basically all the problems in my life. I've solved a lot of problems in my life in the external world, but I wasn't able to solve this main problem in my mind. So I'm going to talk about that right now. But first, it's worth noting that DPDR, this is just something that you might need to hear again, is always caused by stress. You're too stressed out, whether it's from physical stuff, it's like, I don't know, if you were like physically uncomfortable for like a week straight, you'd probably get DPDR. That's probably not most people's problems. Most of people's problems are probably from like psychological stress or trauma maybe, but regardless, it's important to know that it's not this thing that like is a mystery thing that's never going to change. If you get rid of the stress in your life, it will go away. And my cat is making some noises and distracting me. So anyway, what I figured out was that I had this is what I'm calling a pathologized work ethic. So if something is pathologized, it's like pathological, which means like it's something that goes from something that was perhaps once serving you to something that is now hurting you. It's like taken over in a way that it shouldn't have. So like, yeah. So I call it my pathologized work ethic. So I had this habit my whole life of basically feeling like I was never doing enough, and that definitely traces back to my childhood. That's what my mom would always tell me, and I didn't have the knowledge to kind of dismiss what she was saying, so I believed her. So basically, I'm not going to talk about the story of my life, but I'm just going to talk about the decision-making process that led me to DPDR. So I would repeat this process so I would, let's just say today is a normal day as a relatively young man at 30 years old. What I used to do is I would say, I have to do more. And that was just my default in my brain. So it's like, I have to be working. I have to be working on a new project. I have to be working out as hard as possible. And this was all in an effort to prove to basically my mom, even though this is why it became pathologized, because I was no longer proving it to her. It was just a normal part of my thinking process that I have to prove that I'm working hard all the time. I have to prove it. And so what I would do is I would crank up the output in my life as much as possible in every way possible. So I was constantly making myself extremely tired and stressed out. And the reason I wasn't able to solve my DPDR is because I was always focused on like trauma in the past, or like thinking patterns that maybe, I did have a bad thinking pattern, but this one was like very unusual. Most people have like low self-esteem, which I never had. I just always had this like bad thought process that I have to give my all to everything I do. And as soon as I feel okay, it would always be time to crank up the intensity in my life and just like burn myself to a crisp. And I would just do that over and over and over again. And so it was worse than I thought, obviously. If I was aware of what I was doing, I would have been out of this a long time ago. But it was just so ingrained in my decision-making process that, it got me so stressed out for so long that, it's kept me depersonalized for the last 10 years. So it doesn't really, again, I'm not here to like talk about my life story, but I guess all I'm saying is, you can have these, unusual thought patterns that might be affecting your life in ways it's really hard to see. And, I've definitely talked to therapists and they've never been able to identify what I was doing. But if you find a really good therapist, maybe they could help you out with maybe some weird or bad thought patterns that you might have that might be causing a lot of stress. So basically, to summarize, there's kind of a golden rule that you can adhere to when trying to recover from DPDR, which I think will serve everyone well, which is don't redline your body. Don't redline, period. So redlining, if you're not sure what I mean, is like if you look at your I'm not sure what the meter is in your car that does RPMs. It's just a saying, like there's a range, let's say the whole width of my hand is like the potential of you as a person of energy exertion. If you go past like 70%, so like this is all okay and this won't like really hurt your psyche or like won't really bother you, but if you constantly go to full potential, it's going to take a serious toll on your body, your mind, and eventually it might lead to DPDR. So that goes true for everything. So don't redline yourself when it comes to physical activity or emotional activity. Like if someone's really on your nerves, I would say just disengage. I can't think of every example. I'm not going to try to explain it in every way possible, but the idea is just don't redline. Don't stress yourself out, which is like common advice you hear, but I think it goes over our heads a lot because it's not practical advice. It's like, okay, I know I shouldn't stress myself out, but it doesn't get to the root of the problem, which is your decision-making process, which is oftentimes just completely unconscious. So I've implemented this rule and I've seen, like I said, predictable improvement. But the interesting thing is like it takes, depending on how messed up you are, it might take you months of kind of emotional regulation and not redlining yourself. And that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen in my case. So I've been avoiding redlining and I've been kind of monitoring my energy exertion for the last like 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. And I've seen like these like 1% improvements every day. So I guess the last thing worth noting is that there are other ways to get out of depersonalization that have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, which is like if you get a massive boost of like happy feelings in your life, like you get a new partner that you're really in love with, or you get a new job that you've been really wanting for a long time, that might, that's been enough for me to like get out of depersonalization in the past. But this is just a different approach, and this is probably the better approach because it's really hard to make these like huge positive changes in your life. But what you can do is you can limit your stress and be more aware of why you're doing what you're doing. So good luck to everybody, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions.